The road of history is littered with people thinking they made the right decision at the time they made it. The gift for us, if you have that kind of community where people are committed to that community, they continue to have an ongoing dialogue about what they are and what they aspire to be. And to me, that's the secret of Metro Denver. Gordon Brown, before he became Prime Minister of Great Britain, came to town with a group of Brits to look at a regional approach to things. And at the end of it, he said, we can never do this in Great Britain because we don't talk about our culture all the time. You have an ongoing dialogue with everyone in this community, and you get that dialogue because you're passionate about the place.
TOD presents a true test of our regionalism. Right now, we think as individual cities about our individual sales tax bases and our individual property tax bases. And I think that to achieve thinking, for example, at a corridor level, to say, we have a vision for this corridor and some stops are going to be employment centers and some are going to be residential centers, but we maybe can't build them all at once.
Along I-25, we actually, before T-Rex was born, we created a corridor coalition that ran from downtown out to Lone Tree, and whether it was the Douglas County Commissioners, the Mayor of Lone Tree, business interests, the Southeast Business Partnership, the Colorado Boulevard business folks, and we developed a relationship and met on a regular basis to make that happen and to lobby for the funding, to talk about the transit stops and how to make them effective, how to spend the money. If there was money left over, what would you spend the money on, like the bridges over I-25 were a product of that. And I think that model of corridor coalitions ought to be duplicated along every corridor.
I think one of the things that we can do is start having more broader level conversations. I think those have started, focusing, broadening itself out from a station conversation to a corridor or even a regional conversation.
I think there are several places in the Denver metropolitan area that illustrate what can happen and what should happen. One of them is right in our community, and it has to do with the West Corridor light rail line of the Fast Tracks project. We have, as a community, working with our constituents, our citizens groups, our business groups, business leaders, and others within the community, and also reaching out to our neighbors in Denver and our neighbors to the west in Jefferson County and Golden, are establishing, I think, a vision for what transit-oriented development can be. Not in a competitive way, but in a cooperative way.
There's some great steps in that are happening now along the West Corridor. The Denver Housing Authority and the Lakewood Housing Authority are working together on a master plan because they've got a lot of properties along some of those stops. So these corridor coalitions can be a great way to get public leadership, nonprofit leadership, and business leadership working in their own self-interest to make the corridor work.
This is regional. To have successful TOD, it can't be just one city. It's to everybody's benefit, the different governments, and they need to work together better.
The type of leadership needed to steer this long-term merger of land use and transportation together is collaboration and communication and intention to create these places.
The Denver Regional Council of Governments, we're a voluntary organization where leaders get together and work on common problems.
One of the things that DRCOG has done that has really helped further transit is they've integrated the whole idea of transit and sustainability into the MetroVision plan. And that plan doesn't come magically out of thin air. That plan comes together out of all of the municipalities and counties that are in the Denver metro area coming together and actually working on that plan together. What that means is that many different communities have had to study the issue, they've had to think about how the issue is going to affect their own community, and then they've had to think outside their own community and think about everything as a region. How are we going to do this as a region?
What happens in Aurora affects Lakewood. What happens in Lakewood affects Boulder. What happens in Boulder affects Douglas County. It's the nature of how things work.